Yeah.
Anyway, Josh, today we are going over 2 chapters from Game of Thrones. We got Tyrion IV and Arya III.
Yep.
Let's start in with Tyrion IV, or Tyrion's adventures on the road with Catelyn. What'd you think of this one?
It reminded me of the first time on the show when I thought of Tyrion as not really like evil Lannister-ish, more of like he's the good guy Lannister. And we kind of saw that in this chapter, in that he buddies up a little bit when they get attacked and everything. And basically he saves Catelyn at one point.
Yeah, he does.
So, and this is kind of like the building of the trust of Tyrion to the reader. To me, this is like, all right, we kind of had that with the chapters with Jon when he's talking to him on the wall.
Yeah, I think we did.
And this is kind of reinforcing that to me, where he's not just doing that one time. This is a prolonged thing. We can trust Tyrion, because the same thing happened with Jaime too over the course of the show, where now we've come around to Jaime and we really like him. We're like, okay, because in the first couple of seasons, it was like, we don't like him. He's pushing Bran out of towers and he's banging his sister, and like we don't really like that.
He also hobbles Ned in the next chapter.
Yeah,
fun.
But then he's kind of swung back, and so like this chapter reminded me of when Jaime and Brienne are kind of going on their little road trip together. So yeah, because that was kind of when I started coming around to to Jaime, because that was that relationship that they had there. It was a different side of him. So, and this was kind of the same thing, where it's like these two characters that maybe shouldn't be together are linked up, and they're helping each other out, and it kind of comes out to a happy conclusion.
Well, it's cool that you say that, because I mean, like I could see it like Jaime and Brienne. Catelyn and Tyrion are at odds here. I think more clearly than Jaime and Brienne are. I mean, Catelyn
kidnapped him.
She kidnapped
the last
him,
chapter,
and,
the last chapter.
She genuinely thinks that he had something to do with killing or trying to kill her son. And I feel like their relationship is more antagonistic. And it's interesting you say that Tyrion is coming off as good here, because this is the chapter, by the way, everybody, where Catelyn's taking Tyrion to the Vale, to the Eyrie, and they are set upon by the mountain clans, who are just kind of brigands that just want to kill them and take their stuff. And there's a battle, and they win. And there is that moment toward the end where Tyrion, like you said, he doesn't like Catelyn, obviously, because she's kidnapped him. But he decides to help her anyway. There's even a line I wrote down here. Oh, here we go. Okay. Okay. Let them have the ditch, Tyrion thought, and welcome to her. Yet somehow he was moving, and then he kills a guy with her. At the same time, I know that'd be a long
That's
time
great
to find
bonding.
it.
That's excellent bonding.
Well, yeah,
that's how I made all
also-
of my friends.
Yeah, just murder the guy who's going to murder them. But also, I mean, I feel like he's darker in the books than he is in the show. Like he has some sick stuff in this chapter. He thinks a lot about when he's going to kill people. I think this is the first time we hear a Lannister always paid his debts. Kirkland would learn that someday, as would his friends Larys and Mohar, and the good Sir Willis, and the sellswords Bronn and Chicken. So he's thinking, I'm going to kill all these people when I get out of this. And then once the fight starts, that jerk-ass singer who distracted him the first time, he crushes his fingers for fun after a horse falls on him, and he's just like, oh, guess it happens during a battle, because he is not a fan of that guy.
No.
So he does come through in the end, but we're definitely getting light and dark sides of Tyrion in this chapter, I think.
I could see them pulling that off in the show, though, like Tyrion doing something like crushing a guy's finger who had just kind of sold him out. But it would be more of a coy thing. It would come off lighter than it did in the book. He's kind of an a-hole in the book. Like that comes across more here than it does in the show, which I kind of like, because he's coming out of it. I'm assuming he's going to come out of it more than he did on the show, so it's going to feel more of like a complete arc of this is where he was, where he is kind of still working that Lannister poison through his blood a little bit, where he is kind of sick and twisted, and then he's going to come out of it on the other end like better, I guess you could say, healed from his bloodline.
You could say that. Yeah, I could say that. I mean, because he still has the heart of gold thing going on, because he does save Catelyn, but he also has the valid instinct to not want to be kidnapped anymore. Because again, he's innocent, and he knows he's innocent. What do you think of the kind of the muddled aspect of the chapter? Well, it's another instance where George R.R. Martin is letting his lead character, in this case Catelyn, be really wrong about something. Like, she's kidnapped Tyrion. She thinks he had something to do with Bran's attempted murder. she is wrong. Like, she's not right, but the evidence was such that you can't really blame her that bad.
Yeah.
But she's in a situation where she's taking this innocent but kind of asshole-ish man to face justice. How are we supposed to who are we supposed to sympathize with, Catelyn or Tyrion?
I interpreted that two different ways. The first one was, this is back-to-back chapters where Stark has been wrong about something.
The Starks are not known for their piercing powers of observation.
Yeah, they're just absolutely wrong. So that kind of is setting up this idea that, because in the first couple of chapters, the first part of the book, it's very much they know what they're doing. They're the heroes of the story. And now it's like it's flipped and they're just completely wrong. They're out of their element. They're way out over their skis. And I sympathize with both Catelyn and Tyrion.
I think that's the way. That's the best conclusion. I think,
because Catelyn is coming from a very authentic place. She wants to find. This is her son she's talking about. She wants justice, and Tyrion is also coming from that same. And he's not doing it in an aggressive way.
Freaking do it.
Yeah, he's not being combative about it in a way where he's like, "You're wrong, and I'll kill you." It's like he's really trying to like articulate his innocence, which is different from, I think, maybe different characters in this book that they would do. They would just be like, "Oh, all right, I'm done with that. We're just I'm gonna kill you or get you killed, and not gonna have to worry about it." Whereas Tyrion's actually trying to problem solve, which is where I sympathized with him and thought like this was like good guy Tyrion from the show, because he is trying to not be a problem. He doesn't want this to be a conflict. He wants this just to be solved and move on. That's not a Lannister thing to do.
He wants it to be solved, but I mean, again, that long list of people he was going to kill afterwards.
That's the dark side of Tyrion too. Yeah.
I mean, he wants to pay the debts. He's been done wrong. He wants to get even.
Yeah.
I mean, he's trying to make the best of it on the way. I would disagree that he wants to solve it and move on. I think he wants to solve it and then get revenge.
Yeah, that's fair. Add Catelyn. You think he'd add Catelyn to the list if they had done this?
Maybe. He didn't mention her in this long list of things, but I think he probably would.
And him saving her at the end kind of did it for me too, because it's like that was a moment where like he crushes the guy's fingers and he's like, "This is I can do it." Like that would be him solving and getting revenge in one fell swoop. But he saved her, so that was the good guy Tyrion shining through. That's a good point. To me.
Also, the other fun thing about the muddling of the waters is that at the end of the chapter, we see that Catelyn isn't quite as in the right as she was before. Tyrion isn't quite as in the wrong, because she captured Tyrion by getting all these guys to help her, right? Yeah. And they're doing it for the promise of money. They're doing it because it's the right thing to do. And it's kind of hard to separate the one from the two. But by the end of it, they all fight in a battle together. And then Tyrion's laughing with all of them at the end of it. So he gets a couple of them to like him at least. And then a situation where Catelyn wants to bury the bodies, and they're like, "We don't have time for that. We got to get moving." And so, and she has to face up to, "Oh, my authority's not really complete. I can't afford to do that, or they'll leave me, or they'll switch to him." And then Tyrion has an axe and a dagger, and he's not tied anymore. So they kind of go into this fight being Catelyn's clearly in the right, Tyrion's clearly in the wrong, and they come out of it, everyone's a little more on an even playing field, even though they're all, Tyrion's still technically a prisoner.
Yeah.
He has a greater degree of power, which I thought was a fun and natural progression.
I liked that.
And finally, we meet Bronn in this chapter.
We do.
First
Hello,
Bronn
Bronn
appearance. What do you think of that?
I liked it. It was
low-key.
I felt like his description, and we've talked about this with other characters, his description in the book made him sound more like a heroin addict than he
really
is on the show. It's like he's got a gaunt face. It was
just read it. It was I wrote it down. Our first look at Bronn ever in the book. He was near a shadow himself, bone thin and bone hard, with black eyes and black hair and a stubble of beard. Like, kind of, from the book. But yeah, all that near a shadow, bone thin, bone hard, it does make it sound like a heroin addict.
Yeah. But, it's close enough.
Close enough. Yeah, they got it. You can't find a rail thin person. Ooh, Nicole Marie has a good comment. The road to hell is paved with good intentions. The Starks are trying to do right, but it keeps going wrong. I'd agree with that.
That's good,
Sounds about right.
I could agree. I get that.
Finally, one other little bit before we move on from this chapter. Shadow cats are something they mention a lot. I think they're just mountain lions, but it's like a silly fantasy name for a mountain lion.
He's trying to build his own world. I can't kill him for that.
No, it's fine. I mean, what's cool about the first book from the fantasy perspective is that, as you've noticed, except for the very first chapter when there's White Walkers, there's been zero fantasy stuff.
Yeah.
It's all, incest and conspiracies and I mean, I guess just the wall is kind of fantastic.
Yeah,
what's happening at the wall is just like normal Full Metal Jacket stuff.
Yeah. But that's also why people love the show so much. Why it was such a mainstream success is it's like, because I remember watching the first season and lots of people were saying that they're like, oh, this is a fantasy, because it was kind of billed as a fantasy show.
Right. And
like,
it is a fantasy show.
It is a fantasy show. And they were like, oh, it's Lord of the Rings-ish and all this and that.
It's
and
not
it's like,
Lord of the Rings-ish, though.
First episode, White Walkers and all that. And then the rest of it, it's like, it's kind of like the old thing where it's like you want to make a movie that's about something, but it's not about it. So like you'll make a boxing movie that's not about boxing. It's about the characters, and you'll never show the boxing. And it's like this. This is a fantasy show, but it's all about the politics. It's all about the character building. And
it's more subversion, like we talked about last week. Where it's the fantasy epic, but a different angle on it. Different subversion to it.
And I dig that. I like that.
Yeah.
So.
All right, moving on. Let's go to Arya III, the third Arya chapter ever. What happens in this one, Josh?
Well, Arya goes off and does her Arya thing. She sneaks around and, she's chasing cats.
Chasing a cat.
For Syrio. And, and then she hears a couple of guys talking who I guess is Varys, and I don't know who the other guy is.
Yeah, okay. So she chases a cat, she gets lost, and she ends up in, a dark, someplace under the Red Keep.
Yeah.
She sees the dragon skulls, which happens in the book. And I was curious to get your take on this. So this does happen in the show. She chases a cat. They skip over that whole Tommen and Marcella part.
Yeah.
They don't include that. But and then she overhears two guys talking about, well, what do they talk about?
It's like the dragon and the lion or something like that, and they mention Drogo and kind of Marine and all the stuff that's happening over there. And the war is not going to start until
the hand. They're talking about like, well, could you kill this hand too?
Yeah, and there's more players entering the game and this and that, and so it was very much like setting. It was like another world building thing where it's like we're getting this information about, because we understand, we've kind of seen everybody in their own element. We've seen King's Landing and over in, are they in Marine? Is that where they are? Or not yet?
This is King's
Danny
Landing.
Danny and
not even close.
Drogo.
No,
okay,
no, they're just wandering around.
Over in whatever it is. Over
Essos.
There. Essos.
The other comment. They're just kind of wandering around the great Dothraki Sea.
But we've had them there, and we've got up north, and so this is kind of, to me, it was threading it all together. Like we know about them, so it's like it's not some like foreign place to them. It's like we know that it's Drogo and everybody like that. There's going to be a war. We know they want to come to King's Landing. So it kind of advanced the plot in that way to me. And it was in a cool way where we got more of Arya's character in that she's this, we already got this, she's kind of the rebel without a cause, and she's like sneaking around.
Independent.
And that actually advanced the plot where she's not just sneaking around for sneaking around. She's sneaking around. And, by the way, she stumbles upon this. Yeah, so, which ends up being Varys. And
it's Varys is one of the guys she overhears, and it's Illyrio Mopatis, which is a minor character from the show. He's bigger in the book, but he was the guy that Dany and Viserys were staying with in somebody's mansion at the beginning of the book.
Oh, okay.
And he's the one who kind of officiated the marriage to Drogo. And so he's in King's Landing. I wouldn't say it's world building. It's more like world connecting, like you said.
Yeah, I guess that's fair. Yeah.
That we're Daenerys' thing is happening over in another part of the world, other part of the book, and we're actually we're kind of connecting it, which is kind of exciting. Because you have to wonder if you're reading this, like, why are we reading about this weird dragon or this weird silver-haired lady? Yeah. But it links up, it connects, which is cool. Okay, we're good. I think we went out there for a sec, but we are back. Sorry if we lost anybody there. Okay, my question for you is, if you hadn't seen the show, or even if you did, would you have realized who these people were? Do you know that Varys was involved in this scene?
I kind of had an idea about it. I wasn't 100% sure. I was trying to figure out who they were, because I figured, because this has kind of happened before. It happened in the Sansa chapter, where she saw somebody that she didn't know, but it ended up being somebody that was pretty important. So I kind of figured that they were going to be characters we had already met. Just Arya didn't know who they were. I didn't know who the other guy was. I kind of figured Varys was one of them. I thought maybe Littlefinger would have been another one. I don't know. It's just the way that they were talking about
sneaking around and just being generally sneaky.
The sneaking around and kind of the talking about Daenerys and all that. I figured it might be somebody who was something to do with that. So
fair enough.
That was kind of a tip to me.
I mean, it also tells us that Varys, again, isn't being honest with Ned. He didn't tell him any of this stuff. He's talking about this in a weird, shadowy area with some weird dude. So he's obviously got something underhanded planned.
I did appreciate like the code that they're talking into, like the lion and the dragon are going head to head or something.
Yeah, that's always
like
good,
some secret society. Like, yeah, that was kind of fun. I liked that.
And also, I mean, it's the kind of code talk that Arya, wouldn't really get. Mm-hmm. Or again, it's like Sansa, where she doesn't get all of it.
Yeah,
like it's pretty clearly in reference to Ned, but when she actually tells Ned about it, he's like, they're just actors.
Yeah.
Should he have taken her more seriously?
I think he should have. And I think this goes back to what we had in the last Ned chapter, which is he's just so dug into his own thing that the blinders are up. And he's like, I know what I'm doing. I'm in complete control of this. And it's like, you have no control over the situation whatsoever.
That's a good point. Yeah,
and it almost makes it more tragic because not only is somebody from the outside kind of trying to pull him off and be like, look, reconsider the situation, it's his daughter who's doing it. It's not some like random character who's like, I think you might be wrong. It's his daughter literally pleading to him like, you need to listen to me, and he's like, no, you don't know what you're talking about. And that's a tragedy to me. That makes it tougher to swallow. That's
one more warning sign that's just not getting through Ned Stark's like a lot of others.
It almost made me just kind of like write Ned off a little bit. I'm like, look, this can't be helped. Like, you've had so many red flags raised here. There's just no helping this. Like, I know it's going to happen, obviously.
I know. We could be biased because we know what's coming. But maybe
that's my defense mechanism. I'm psychologically just being like, nope, I'm preparing myself. So,
one thing I wanted to quickly point out is just to keep with our little movie genre metaphor. If the Ned Stark chapters are like a noir murder mystery, then this one was kind of like a Nancy Drew mystery where the little girl is like stumbling into a dark corridor and overhearing people talk about interesting plots and then trying to like be plucky and solve it herself.
Oh, man. You have to have somebody like draw up this artwork. Like, I'm just like picturing Arya like sneaking around, like, book cover and everything like that. And you can find it, and then you can find it on the Winter is Coming Facebook page.
I can see it. So. It's like she's like in the corner, and like there's some taller guy with like a coat on, talking skeevily in the night.
I like that. The Nancy Drew chapters and the noir chapters.
And finally, talking about George R. R. Martin's language, I want to point out really quickly. This is a phrase he uses a bunch, so I figured we'd just note it. When Arya overhears Varys and Illyrio Mohatos talking, Illyrio talks in the liquid accents of the free cities.
Yeah.
When you read that, what does that mean to you?
I interpreted that as like the Blade Runner language that James almost speaks in Blade Runner. It's like a mixture of like, it's like, I forget what it exactly is, but I think they wrote it like as a mixture of like Mandarin and like there was a bunch of different like Asian languages like meshed into one Blade Runner language, because that was like the thing, is like it's all this meshing thing. And I kind of got that from this, where I felt it was like a meshing of the different languages from all around. Like King's Landing is like the Coruscant in Star Wars, where it's like this meeting of every kind of culture. So like the language is kind of mixed together a little bit. So that's how I interpret. I could be completely wrong.
No, that's cool. I would never have gone there. I just thought it was like a writerly way to describe a foreign accent without really describing it at all.
Oh.
Because he'll come back to that. Like, whenever someone's from Essos, they have a liquid accent. And I'm like, what the hell does that sound like? Like, it doesn't really mean anything. Liquid. But apparently it means
liquid. I figured liquid. I figured fluid language. I felt like he was going in and out, weaving in and out of different kind of dialects.
I like it.
Yeah.
Ooh, okay. Any other thoughts on either of these chapters, Josh?
No, I enjoyed them. So.
Cool.